Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Christina Kezar. Christina is passionate about serving her community and creating meaningful connections across the Bay Area. She works as a clerk for the City of Richmond Superior Court, where she helps ensure accessible and efficient public service. Outside of her court work, Christina brings energy and creativity to Off the Grid as an event coordinator and supports fan engagement for Oakland Roots SC, bridging people through shared experiences in food, culture, and sports. Well, hi, Christina. It's really nice to see you. I'm super excited that you're here today. You have such a beautiful heart for community and have done like so many different things. And I'm just excited to explore this and let our listeners know what kind of amazing things you've been doing in community. But how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited too. I feel like it's just been so long and I miss our talks and especially about community work. So I'm excited.
No, me too. And I'm excited to explore more because I know it's been a while since we last talked. And, I'd love to hear like what kind of things you've been doing, since we last worked together. But yeah, with that. So, Christina, you wear so many hats. So you have like your work from the Superior Court to coordinating events and supporting community sports. So what would you say that ties all of these roles together for you?
Gosh, I honestly want to say that just being a Bay Area native and like my love for the Bay just has always made me feel very connected to community because I think it's so part of like the culture growing up here. And I think that all the different hats that I wear honestly stems from that. Like I know growing up, I was always involved or always, my family was always taking me to all these events or different sporting events or, all this stuff around, the Bay Area. And I just think that that has always fueled my interest for these types of community events and community work. And it's just always driven me in that direction when it comes to what type of work I want to be involved in.
No, that's really cool. So, what first inspired you to get involved in community-oriented work? So, was there a moment or influence that helped to shape that path for you?
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know if it was one specific moment. However, I will say that I did come from a heavy sports background and a team sports background. And I will say that with that, we would always do a lot of like fundraising events and tournaments and things like that. And us coming together for like a goal, it would always, or like be in these like settings where it's like we're doing something with the city of Oakland or whatever. I feel like that really, I don't want to say for lack of a better word, like almost caught the high of like community work, and it just kind of made me want to keep staying involved in that. And, and that's what led me to kind of organizing it too, because again, I don't want to, but I'm always like, I could do it better, So I always wanted to be involved in that. And I think I came from a hospitality background as well. And you're connect with the community in so many ways coming from restaurants. I mean, that's literally all you're doing. So I think my hospitality work, which taught me how to deal with people, and converse with tons of different types of people. And then, my work with the community as far as, when I transitioned out of it more into events. And then now I'm in, a whole different line of work, which is government, which I'm also utilizing the skills that I learned from like hospitality and managing, events and things like that. It's all tied together. And I just feel like it's kind of streamlining me into this direction that it may not have been directly a straight line from the community work that I've done, but it's still community work nonetheless.
Yeah, no, totally. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, you bring up an important point too. So that's actually something that I really love about the Bay Area too. I think that it has like such a thriving nonprofit, just like the activism of the Bay Area and also like just like different volunteer opportunities for people and just that encouragement for people to get more involved. So with that, how has growing up or living in the Bay Area influenced your values around community and connection?
Oh, I think community and connections like one of my top value things that I value the most, honestly. Like, I mean, I think I would be nothing without it. Like, even outside of my 9 to 5 working in government, I work with the Oakland Roots pro soccer team just because I wanted to stay involved in just the culture and the community. And I think, with the Bay Area specifically, we've lost so many like teams and kind of these cultural moments. I think, gentrification, rising prices of living out here. My entire family's out here, and I've seen a lot of people who I've grown up with not be able to afford to live out here anymore. And I think that by staying involved and by, continuing to being a part of that, it's hopefully gonna, I don't want to say like just this little stuff is going to shape it, but we'll shape the culture in order to like make it so people, the culture stays the same, even though we're losing a lot of the people that makes the culture, And I think that was so important to me growing up in what made me who I was, and it's funny, I'll even travel outside of the state or outside of the country. And people know that I am not only from California, but they will recognize that I'm from the Bay Area just based off of like our energy. It's
Wait,
insane.
really? Like not even like telling them that you're from the Bay?
I went to Hawaii one time and I was talking to these people at a restaurant.
Okay.
And they were like, "You're from California, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're from the Bay Area, huh?" And I was like,
so
"Yeah."
Funny.
And they're like, "You're from Oakland, huh?" And I was like, "Oh my God."
Wait, really? They got as specific as Oakland?
And I'm like, how could you tell? They're like, there's this certain energy about people from the Bay Area. I don't know what it is, but you guys are just so like, it's just this culture, and it stems from our sports, our music, the, diversity that's out here. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'll say like, oh, I've tried all these, foods and this, and I'm getting off on a tangent, but I just feel like it's so important. And it's made me, when I started seeing, like I said, friends move away, people getting displaced, it's just like, no, I need to stay involved. I can't let myself also be disconnected from community because it is something that's just so important.
Yeah. No, that's funny you bring it up. I've never heard something like that though, because I've heard even people tell me that I have a Californian accent. I'm like, okay. But then for it to be like very specific to like Bay Area and Oakland, that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't get it all the time when I'm walking the street, but I've definitely got it on a few occasions. And I just think it's just something that's so important because I think, and again, I've only lived in the Bay Area, but I just do know that we really, especially people that I've grown up in the Bay Area, the community is something that we really value. It's really what helps us support it. And honestly, I mean, when I went to network, even the job that I'm in now was based on my community. I got it because of somebody I knew who helped me get something else. Even almost every job that I have currently right now is because I knew somebody.
Yeah.
That's how, important community is.
Yeah. And that's what I heard is like really important, especially in today's job market. I think like networking is the best way to go because I think like just putting out cold applications or just like cold contacts with employers, hasn't been as effective with, I would say like most of my career,
competitive.
Like all of my, what's that?
Yeah. I said, it's just competitive out there. If that gives you an edge, then go for it.
Yeah. I think that I would say like all of my jobs were I've gotten them through like people that I know. So, that's cool that you like have built those many connections. I'm sure that you have a lot just because like you've put your like feet into like a lot of different community events and, happenings in the Bay Area.
Definitely my toes been in a lot of different ponds and you meet a lot of people. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk with you more about your work with the Superior Court system.
Yeah.
So working in the Superior Court system, you have a unique window into how justice plays out in people's daily lives. So what have you learned from that experience about accessibility or equity in public service?
Gosh, if you asked me a year ago if I was going to be in a government job, especially in a courthouse, I would have been like, you're crazy. I would definitely lean a little bit, or a lot a bit more like on progressive side, and this wasn't, if I was going to get involved with government, this isn't what I'd pictured getting involved in. I thought it was going to be more in the nonprofit sector, kind of where I came from. And I want to say that, you see with the government sometimes, it's all fair to the point that sometimes it's not fair, and you do see it's very much, there's no room for emotion in it. And you know what I mean? But I think that what I can try to bring as much as possible is fairness and a little bit of comfort in people who are in really, really crappy situations, we get a lot of people that come in that are in, really desperate and low places that you don't want to be in, and I think that by helping them as much as we can, we're not allowed to give legal advice, but what we can do is try to set them up with the right forms on the right path, try to process their things as much as possible. We do, and I'll say just for us specifically where I am in my courthouse, we do really try to be empathetic and really try to expedite people's processes as fast as possible, because we don't want people lingering in a place that they don't have to be for much, as longer than they have to. It's not fun when no one has having fun in court, so.
Yeah, no, totally. And just from your working in that kind of environment, do you notice differences of just work cultures of where you're working now versus maybe the nonprofit sector or the nonprofit world?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, I think I got really lucky. I've heard even just in my county that I work for in different courthouses, I've heard people have different experiences in different courthouses. I think where I am, I did get really lucky in the people that I work with, and they do remind me a lot about the people that I came from in nonprofit. Just really personable, really nice. I would say, it's definitely more of a corporate environment, but, we do try to keep it a little lighthearted and, make sure that, we're trying to meet people with empathy and grace and trying to keep our spirits high, because you are dealing with a lot of tough situations every day. It is sad. So just trying to keep our spirits high so we can try to help people as much as possible in effective work. I will say that I've met great people in nonprofit and where I am now. And I think that a lot of people who, contrary to my belief, a lot of people who are in this line of work are trying to help the way that people in nonprofit, I think, are trying to help, or at least who I've met personally, but I haven't been there that long. But
no, that's really cool. No, I think that's really awesome that you bring that lens, just in that work that you're doing.
I wouldn't have expected that, honestly. If you had asked me, I would have thought people were, oh, well, they're just getting in there because there's pension and Social Security, which true, of course, the benefits are amazing, but I would say that a lot of the people personally who I work with, I can tell got into it because, or even if they didn't get into it because of that, they're like, we do want to make a difference and we are trying to make the best experience they are for people coming in that we can, even though we don't have to do that. It's not like nonprofit where you are trying to, make educate and, community and stuff. That culture isn't inherent in the court system. Okay. But I think with us and with our mindset, we're really trying to kind of change that because it's not there, so let's try to bring a little bit more empathy and a little bit more personableness to this, because these people are coming in here and they're not having a good time. So let's try to make it a little bit better.
No, that's really beautiful that you have that kind of approach. So what does justice mean to you beyond the legal system?
Oh, I think justice really, is so generic for me to say, but I really just think, I think safety, people just feeling safe, people feeling, whether that be, just walking down the street, whether that be in their housing, whether that be in, having food in their fridge, and making sure that they have job security and things. I think that that's justice. I think, ensuring that people's needs are met and that, there's fairness and equality, with people.
Yeah, no, that's really wonderful. And I think that's what I've been having a common theme of that in this podcast, and also what I've learned through college too, how the political is personal. So, when you think about policies, it's not just, something that's, it's just government or just that, but it's these policies affect people on a very personal level though. And also people's personal identities too, and personal circumstances, they also influence policies. So, that's been my own journey too. And I think it's cool that you're making that connection too. It's it's not just, this larger social justice movement, but it's can people afford to eat or, just have basic needs of survival?
Right. Because, we're seeing people come in where, essentially in my specific line, it's they're losing their housing, and it's really hard, it's unfair to see a lot of these people. And you see it from both sides, you see really, unfairness from, landlords, unfairness from tenants. You see both
Yeah.
sides a lot. And I think it's just about, keeping the fairness, but you never want to see anybody kicked out of their housing, no matter how
Yeah.
terrible the tenant thing. You never want to see that anyone in that type of circumstance. And we do work really closely with a lot of nonprofits.
Okay.
And we actually, Bay Area Legal Aid's one of them,
Okay,
Eviction Center
cool.
in Oakland's another one,
Mhm.
Senior Legal Services, and we work really closely with them. And oftentimes when people come in, we refer them to them right away, and we're like, here, we work really closely with the attorneys there to try to make sure that even if you can't afford help, there is some type of help that we're able to provide for you.
Okay.
So
No,
yeah.
that's wonderful.
And again, it's just like community. We're all like trying to work together to make
Yeah.
sure that we're not contributing to the houseless crisis that's here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, no, totally. So are there moments in your court work that has reminded you why this work matters, even when it's challenging? So I could imagine like this also being like heavy work, but what helps bring you back to that why of why you're doing this kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, I think success stories, I guess it sounds cheesy, but we do see a lot of people that, come to agreements and, come out of this. And, I think also while we're helping, we get people who are coming in and they're like, like I just got, served with this paperwork, da, da, da. And
Yeah.
by us, like, okay, this is the next step. This is what you have to do. And seeing them succeed in this process that seems overwhelming at first. And a lot of these people, this is their first time ever going to court at all, or being in a situation like this. And, I would be panicking if I didn't know what was going on. It seems overwhelming and scary and really intimidating of a process. But when you have someone who's willing to take a little bit of extra time to kind of explain things, tell you what your options are, I think it really helps. And I think that's what helps me bring down. I mean, I've had people who come in crying, stressed, and by the time they're leaving, they're like, okay, you made me feel better, and I think that
Yeah.
that's something that little things that I can take every single day that just makes me feel, I don't know if I can save your situation, but I'm going to help you fight it as hard as you can. And we're going to, fight this together. So,
Yeah.
that
No, I
helps a
really
lot.
hope. No,
Yeah.
you're doing yeah, so much impactful work and that's amazing. And I want to talk more about your work with Off the Grid.
Sure.
Because I know
Yeah.
that's something else that you've done. So your work with
Hmm.
Off the Grid is about
Hmm.
gathering people through food and shared experiences, which I really love and appreciate. So what have you noticed about how food brings people together across different backgrounds?
Oh gosh, Off the Grid is so much fun. Those are like
Yeah.
I sometimes call this like my fun job.
Uh-huh.
Because the events are always such a good time. I mean, it's funny. It's like there's literally just food trucks sometimes in a circle and people are having the best time.
Yeah.
Like if there's food and music involved, oh my God, like it's a time. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
It's just super cool seeing first of all the food trucks, the way it's expanded is insane. I mean, there's so many different types of food trucks now, so many
Okay.
different types of foods that people have never tried or never had access to try. So
Yeah.
being able to bring those, different types of cuisines and cultures and diversifying people's palates that maybe have never put themselves in a position to get that type of experience is really cool.
Yeah.
We work a lot with like, companies because I do more of the private, not the public markets, but more of the private markets.
Okay.
And so we'll like, corporations or companies will hire us and we'll kind of, and it's cool because you can tell that this is some of these people's first time, trying some of these different cuisines and they're asking,
Cool.
questions and the trucks are educating them. And it's just always a fun time seeing those exchanges.
Yeah.
Plus the
No,
food's
that's cool.
good. So
No,
it's
I
like,
know.
that's
No,
always
I
fun.
love, no, that's what I really love about Off the Grid too. And I think it's cool too. They like promote on their websites, like, hey, these are the different food trucks that'll be here this time. And they like rotate them too. So you don't have
Hmm.
like the same food trucks come all the time. But that's something that I didn't realize though, because really love just going there for the food and also like for community too. I had
Hmm.
an alumni event there too. We were like, hey, get food, meet us at this table and we'll hang out. But
Oh,
yeah, so
yeah.
are there like specific events that are happening through Off the Grid other than just like gathering
I
people to eat?
believe they're doing a lot of collaborations right now. I know they're
Oh,
doing a
cool.
collaboration with the Oakland Museum.
Oh,
Kind of
wow,
first
that's cool.
Fridays, they'll have like a DJ and all
Yeah.
of that. That's always fun. I know they're bringing back their markets at Fort Mason Center in San Francisco, which is a pretty big market for us.
Hmm.
Um, so not only is it food, but I think we're also collaborating with like local vendors as well and bringing them out and kind of so it's
Oh,
now kind of expanding beyond food, which has
yeah.
kind of been the goal for Off the Grid because it has been food truck focused, but now we're trying to get into like, let's see what else we can do. Let's get some markets going. Let's get some interior service going, so we're just trying to expand, with a lot of local, like even the DJs, we're trying to do local DJs. I don't know if you're familiar with the Warriors alumni Festus Zeeley. He's gotten really involved with us because he loves the market. Cool. So he kind of will like go to Fort Mason Center and do like tours for us and get people excited about coming. So it's always a good time.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the food trucks themselves like get really creative with their food because I've seen like really interesting like fusion. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I think like one thing I really loved too, I think it was like these Korean tacos. And there's like the shell was made out of like rice and the taco. I'm like, this is really cool. I don't know. There's like foods that I never tried that for the first time I had it out off the grid. So I've always like appreciated it too. And even, that's cool about the museum too. Cause I remember we used to go to those like Friday events too. And like there's music and food and stuff. But I think that's a beautiful way that like, really people come together with food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, so how do you see cultural events like Off the Grid contributing to community healing and connection, especially in a time when so many people feel divided or disconnected?
I mean, I think it's super important. I mean, I remember for a while, Off the Grid had kind of shifted their focus away from markets, and people were upset about it. They're like, bring them back. And I think that shows a lot of how important they are. People were demanding those spaces. And I think in such a place where we lack kind of these like, third spaces for people to just kind of hang out. There's nowhere to hang out anymore, where there's like something to do. Malls don't really exist anymore, like arcades in the same way don't exist. Things like that. Like it just that doesn't really exist. So I think to kind of create these like third spaces for people and bring where there's community and where it's low fun and there's no fuss, no pressure, you're just hanging out. You don't see a lot of places where people just hang out, and it's like all we're doing is providing the food. The community brings everything else, so that's the community's doing is the demand for bringing it back and what's created at these events,
Yeah. No, that's what I wonder about too. Cause my daughter loves going to the mall. So we go there and I think like, cause I remember when I was young, that was like the to-go place for young people. I'm like, I wonder like this is still like the to-go place for young people nowadays. And because I think it's just like, a lot of people do online shopping now. And like we live in such a digital world where people are like just social media and that. But, I think it's really cool when you have these kind of things that are still physically bringing people together, though.
Exactly. I agree. I think it's so important,
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I'd love to talk with you about your work with Oakland Roots SC too. So Oakland Roots SC is known for connecting sports and social impact. So what does being part of that community mean to you personally?
It actually means so much to me. I think that Bay Area sports in general is just so important to anybody who grew up. I mean, I remember going to like an A's game with all my cousins growing up was like a cheap activity to do. I remember when they were giving away Warriors tickets with like free hot dogs back in the day. And I think with the buildup of us being so successful in these later years, and then for them like ripping the teams away from us, I think like something like Oakland Roots is so important. And they are so keeping the vision of what Oakland sports is, besides just the sports, but the community and culture that I created. And I think that I love that they're pushing through and pushing forward with that constantly in the back of their mind. I think moving to I've been following the Roots and working loosely with them since they were, playing at Laney, and then they were playing at Cal State East Bay, and now they're at the Coliseum, which is huge. Wow. And now I'm working, a lot more closely with them. And the founder, Idris, he's such an amazing man. He's never, taken his eye off of the fact that this is for the community. It's not about anything else, that he has not lost sight of that. And you can tell, I mean, there's been sacrifices, without going into too much detail, sacrifices that the clubs have made just to ensure that they're putting community first and that they're making this about that. Almost every single game is a theme. Almost every single game has other activities besides just, you're not just showing up and going to a soccer game. They have other stuff going on. They'll have recruitment for, different types of community organizations, oftentimes in the parking lot. It's like, oh, you want to tailgate out there? Okay, well, also you can join this nonprofit and go to this organization and get aid from here. And I think that that's amazing that not only is it something for people to go and enjoy, relatively inexpensively, honestly, but it also is exposing them to so many other things that the Bay Area can be doing and exposing them to different outlets in the community. And I think just being a part of that is super fun. And it makes me feel connected in a deeper way.
Yeah, no, I'd love to further explore that with you. So, how do you see sports as being a vehicle for empowerment or social change?
I mean, honestly, sports shaped who I was as a person so much. I think it's
Cool.
really important. I think not only does it teach you just how to work together with like other people, but it also, exposed me to different places and different, communities and stuff when we go to tournaments or, meet this person from this, city who's playing and all this fun stuff. And I think, sports goes back centuries. That's what we bond over. We've been cheering when they're fighting bears in the ring or whatever was going on, But I think that especially with the decline in the way that the sports were ripped out of Oakland, I think that bringing another team in was really important. I think it was really crucial. And we felt a little bit of the pushback from it as well. Obviously, people are still definitely feeling a way that, they took a lot of our teams and they're like, well, who's this? What is this team trying to force themselves on us? But I think people are coming around. And I think that that's kind of the perseverance that sports shows you, right? Like on and off the field, that you have to push through in order for good things to happen. Pressure makes diamonds. And I think that sports really shows that. Like if you work hard and you work together, you'll get to an end goal.
No, that's really cool. That's really beautiful too. And that's one thing that I also appreciate going to games. Like, I could have like political differences or, just differences with people in general, but then we come together at a game and we're cheering for the same team together. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're all cheering against the other team, like, boo.
No, but I think that's cool because I hear that from people too. Like going to a sports game is more than just like watching it for entertainment, but they're also there for like the community and just like that similar bond. And
I mean, I love the Roots, but we definitely have not been doing the best this season. So I will say that you're almost 75% going for the community because you're not going right now for the game. Love the Roots. We're going to get better next year. It's only up from here. But, and that says a lot too. It's like people are coming for the community because they're definitely not going expecting a win right now. Right now.
But, I think that goes to say something too. Like they're like still rooting for Oakland Roots and, not like just leaving them like, oh, this is like not good. So I'm just not going to show up.
I think that is one thing that Oakland is used to is voting for the underdogs for a long time. So hopefully we're going to keep it going because we're pushing through.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So can you talk about an experience with Oakland Roots that made you feel especially proud or moved?
Gosh, I want to say the opening night at the Coliseum. I just think that, again, I hadn't been to the Coliseum for a game since the Raiders were there, and we all know what happened there. I think feeling the energy that was in there truly felt like, okay, this is community. This is love. This is Oakland. This is everyone coming together. And it almost felt like, this sounds so but almost like a little bit of hope was restored. And I think that was so beautiful because the energy in there was like unmatched. And it reminded me of something that, again, like was kind of nostalgic at that point because we hadn't felt something like that in so long. And it was so much like Bay Area love in there as well. And again, Idris's, the owner, his attention to detail with things like that. That's why he does the things he does, the songs that he plays, the DJs that he has, the firework displays that he does. He's like, I want to pay homage to the community and what a little bit of what they're used to and what we grew up with, because he's from the Bay Area as well, like what we grew up with and wanting to make that connection. And I think he really succeeded in that. And I think it really set the tone for what we're hoping to do with this team and what we're hoping the team will bring to Oakland.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So, yeah, like we've been talking, you have so much rich work experience. So you do work that spans a lot of different spaces. So you have like government, events, and sports. But all of it, like we've been talking about, like centers on connection. So how do you balance like these worlds where also like being staying true to like your purpose?
Calendars. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. Yeah. No.
No, I mean, I don't think
No
it's
calendars.
hard to stay true to
Okay.
my purpose just in the work that I'm doing. It's
Yeah.
so easy when you're surrounded by, like minded people who are also, as passionate as you are about the work that
Hmm.
you're doing and about community. And like I said, I think I've just been so blessed to work with such amazing people and
Yeah.
meet such amazing people along the way. I mean, I think that's made it super easy. So it's kind of unfair for me to even answer that because I don't think I've had a hard time,
Okay.
allowing the people around me to really help me like stay motivated
Hmm.
in what just our mission is, which like you said is connection and community, I think, and just keeping that in mind
Yeah.
constantly. And it's hard for it to slip your mind when you just feel it in the work that you're doing.
Oh, that's really cool. So, yeah, what really keeps you grounded in this work though? Because I know that like, we've talked earlier too, like
Mhm.
community work can also feel like heavy.
Yeah.
Just like you're working with folks that, a lot of like injustices like are happening and
Mhm.
stuff. But like what keeps you grounded and like keeps you connected to that why and remembering your purpose for doing this work?
I will definitely say like my heaviest job is definitely my government job, and that's my 9 to 5 during the week. And I will say that like I call them my fun jobs, my off the grids, and my
Hmm.
my Oakland Roots. I think that that really helps me keep a balance because sometimes I don't feel like showing up to those jobs, but I have to. It's my job, and by going, it pulls me out and pulls me into an energy in a space where again I'm surrounded by love, I'm surrounded by community, I'm
Yeah.
surrounded by culture, and I think that that really really helps me stay grounded, and it makes it like I said, because I don't know if I would be doing that on my own sometimes on the weekend.
Right.
I'm tired,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
it pulls me and it makes me and it reminds me again why I'm doing this. And I
Yeah.
also outside of work, I do try to make a lot of time for myself. I'm very big on outdoors and like, the whole go touch some grass. It works.
It
Okay.
does
Like
work.
it
Yeah.
works.
No, it
And
does.
sometimes, you just need a little walk, a little hike, be out
Yeah.
in some trees. So
Yeah.
I'll say like taking time for myself, obviously, as well, is really, really important to me. I do need time to decompress. I do need
Yeah.
time sometimes to step away from the connection, to
Yeah.
disconnect,
Yeah.
in order to kind of be able to reconnect fully,
Yeah. No,
you
that's
know?
beautiful. No, and I
Mhm.
think that is like amazing too. Like, no, it's physically, if you walk barefoot on grass, it just does something to you.
When I sometimes I'm in an office building all day,
Okay.
and when I clock out at 4:30, I will drive and I go into the woods and see some trees, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, life is worth
Yeah.
living, And
Yeah. That's what I love about the Bay Area though, because like you can visit like really beautiful parks though. It's
oh
like
yeah,
really, really
everything's so
close.
close.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I lived in Berkeley and like just Tilden Park, it's like yeah, it's like this
gorgeous.
whole forest that you're
Yeah,
walking
no,
through.
seriously. And like different types and
Yeah.
like yeah, no, it's we are true. I'm truly blessed being
Yeah.
out here. Seriously. I mean, it
Yeah.
is amazing. I mean, I'm unless it's raining, I try to be outside at
That's
least every
wonderful.
day after work because
That's really
if
cool.
I'm not working,
Yeah.
again, I'm just trying to decompress and again, like
Yeah.
almost disconnect to reconnect.
Yeah. No, and I don't know if this is the same with you too, but I think there's something for me like being close to water when I was in the Bay too. So
Yes.
I live in like SoCal now and it's like
Mhm.
desert pretty much. But I'm like, when I visit the Bay Area, I'm like, wow, I just miss being so close to the water because it's
It
just
is. It's so
so
healing.
beautiful.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about water or,
Yeah.
specifically again, something very, niche to the Bay is a view. We
Yeah.
love a view,
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes like if I go up on a hike and I'm in the hills and I'll just stop on my way back and just stare at the view. Or when
Yeah.
I'm driving home, I take 880. So I'm right along there along the water and I'm looking
Yeah.
at, San Francisco and I'm just like, it's
I
gorgeous. Like I
know.
love it.
I
It's so
know.
beautiful. And that just helps. I mean, being
Yeah.
surrounded by gorgeous.
Yeah, no, totally. Because I went to UC Berkeley and I just remember there were spots where you can like just see beautiful sunsets like over
Yeah.
the like Golden Gate Bridge. I'm like, this is so cool.
And you're like, wow, I live
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, that's
that definitely
cool.
helps perspective.
Yeah. So what does community mean to you at its core?
Oh, God, that's a hard question.
Okay.
No, that's good. What does community mean to me at its core?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just like community to me is like a mutual like love and respect, I guess. I feel like
Yeah.
what you said about your sports analogy that you mentioned earlier kind of like sums that up. Like we're all there despite what our backgrounds might be, despite what our current beliefs might be,
Yeah.
like we're finding a commonality. And I think that that stems from and roots into love and respect. And I think that that's like what brings your community together, finding that like-mindedness within the differences, and that's what I think is important about community, because we can't all, think, feel, look, whatever the same. There needs to
Yeah.
be diversity in that, but the commonality there is love and respect for others. And I think that that's
Yeah.
core of community.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what you were just saying, it reminds me of something that I learned when I was in school and was a student. But it's like, I think I don't I don't think we should strive to be like a melting pot necessarily,
Mhm.
but like we should be more like a salad bowl, like having these different diversity in us like living together. Yeah, instead of like I think, sometimes I think our culture tries to like kind of like whitewash our like efforts
Mhm.
too, but it's like, no, we should like be proud of, our diversity because it brings so much life, so much joy, to the communities that we're in.
Yeah, it would be super boring to hang out with a bunch of people that like look and think and like, I mean, I'm awesome, but like I would hate to hang out with
Like
just a bunch
Christy.
of people like me all the
Yeah.
time. Like, I need some mixing
Yeah.
it up. Like give me some contrast, make me argue. No, just
Make you argue.
keep me on my toes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what I think too. I think there's a point where we can have like healthy discourse and like
Hmm.
disagreement, political, but I just feel like there's just so much division right now where it's like gotten to a point it's not healthy though.
It is, yeah, I agree. I mean, I love how you said, not a melting pot, but a salad. And I think that that's great. I think right now we're becoming like a disconnected salad, like, a deconstructed
All the
salad. Like
veggies are
we
like
haven't even been
segregated.
chopped and mixed or weaving
Oh
in the
no.
bowl, But I think, I do think it's a difficult time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why, like, community and staying grounded to that and finding it, not
Yeah.
everyone finds community. And,
Yeah.
you know, I, I think that for a long time, through growth and through growing pains, my community shifted, changed, grew, fell out, came back together, and
Uh-huh.
I can say that there's been times where I felt like I didn't have strong community, and I
Yeah.
think that through growth and through finding myself, I think that I've discovered that it is so important. And if you
Yeah.
can get it, you get that privilege to get it, like hold on to it and, cherish it. Because I think it
Yeah.
is really important and it does really help keep you grounded and, just feel love, in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, no, totally. So, how do you see your work contributing to a more just and connected Bay Area?
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on like I almost reference, my roots work
Mm,
almost more with that just because I think maybe I physically see it more in shorter spurts.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think with roots, it goes because of sports, it really develops like a culture within, I think we know fandom is really deep. And I think that developing that fandom is developing a culture within the Bay Area that goes deeper than, just a sports club. I
Hmm.
think things with off the grid, again, it's about connectivity and keeping that going and getting people excited about learning new things. And
Yeah.
even like you said, it's like, oh, I'm meeting up with my alumni to bring it's giving people the idea and prompting them with the idea of using that to connect them further. And I
Yeah.
think that's us using these events to spark just the thought in people of getting more involved in their community or connecting with others, I think is setting up that culture of community.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. And one thing that I appreciate about you too is like you're not just doing the work, but you're also like stepping up as like a leader and just like mobilizing people or like getting them excited about stuff. So what lessons have you learned about leadership or collaborations from the communities that you serve?
Well, definitely multitasking something I've learned.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I think, operating with different people, you definitely have to cater the way you approach things depending on who you're dealing with, the magnitude of what you're dealing with. When I'm working with off the grid, I'm working sometimes I'm working in small groups, sometimes I'm doing entire markets. Sometimes these are events like weddings that people have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, or company corporate party planners that have been working months to make sure that this event, and it's just about holding up your end of the bargain and kind of being independent and knowing what you're doing. And even with all, with Oakland Roots, I work with the VIP, clients and the guests, and I'm just kind of, the organizer and management of that whole sector, and ensuring that, we're curating a good experience, and that we're making sure that we're upholding our morals and values and staying true, while also, being tested sometimes on those morals and values. Sometimes the people that we're interacting with aren't necessarily, don't think that same way, and just making sure that we're staying true to ourselves, while also, making things happen. Gotta meet the quota, gotta meet the timelines, gotta, make people happy, gotta make those sales, so
yeah.
Just making sure you're finding that balance. And I think being able to like roll with the punches and roll with the waves, being able to adapt to people is really important. Because I know that I have to, deal with different people differently. There's high stress people, there's more people who just, hey, whatever you want, there's people that are very in your business, and it's like, let me handle it. So it's just rolling with that.
Oh, that's cool. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get more involved in their community, but they don't know where to start?
Yeah, it is hard figuring out where to start. I mean, I definitely think working with the community that you have, if you do have any, is awesome. Like I said, almost all the work that I'm doing now, I found through others. Even just stepping out into the community, finding events like Off the Grid. Social media is a huge tool. Especially somewhere like the Bay Area. I know it's not as easy and accessible in other places, but we constantly are having events. I mean, there's something going on every single day. If you really, wanted to get on social media, get on Facebook, TikTok's another great tool. I mean, you can Bay Area events, boom, or wherever, SoCal events. Stepping into the community, being social. And I think it takes practice too. I'm, believe it or not, naturally a shy person. When I'm in social situations, I'll tend to step back, sometimes, and kind of assess and then, proceed. It's not natural for me to go out in social situations and put myself out there. It's not naturally how I work. I'm typically in the house, That's where I default. So I think to put yourself out of your comfort zone is something that it takes practice. And I think, starting with just going to an event, saying, okay, I'm going to stay there for 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going to stay there for an hour, and then work your way. And then, okay, next I'm going to talk to somebody. Then I'm going to talk to a group of people. And that you start getting your networking, you start getting involved. And then you start finding out that it's not so scary. And you start feeling more, involved in it. You feel more comfortable in the space that you may not have felt comfortable in before. And I think by building that comfortability and just putting yourself out there, it'll naturally start kind of getting you involved. You'll start making the connections. You'll start, finding the right people. And you'll start sparking your ideas in yourself. It, kind of starts to influence yourself. And like, you're like, oh, well, I did, now I'm making me think of this. And, so I think that's, the advice that I would give is just kind of just start slowly, takes practice. Don't feel discouraged, because it's easy to, and it probably will happen. But just keeping at it, and, perseverance, like sports, practice makes perfect. And you just have to practice at everything.
Oh, that's cool. No, I really love that. And I think that's what I'm hoping for listeners to get out of this podcast, like to be a part of like a movement towards, just creating a better, like beautiful world or community. Like you don't need to be like a director, a nonprofit, or have like a, leadership role. Like it can just come down to like small acts of kindness. Like how do you show up as like a human being day after day?
1,000%. I agree. I mean, sometimes like when I'm working, especially with Off the Grid, I manage teams. And I'm sometimes some of the most impactful people are some of the people in my teams that I'm working, and it's just, finding the community in that, and finding the like-mindedness in that. And, at the end of the day, you may be up the top of the pole telling people what to do, but you guys are all there working the same event in the same place at the same time. And that's the beauty of it. It's like we're all doing this together, and that's the community that we have, and just having respect for people. It doesn't matter where you are on the totem pole, just, having the same respect and dealing with everyone, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I really love that. So, what gives you hope right now when it comes to community and justice work?
I think that's hard to answer right now considering, like, the
Yeah,
climate, but I
yeah,
think that again, I think I'm blessed to have a community that I'm really confident in. I feel a lot of love in. And seeing like the growth in the work that I'm doing, I think is really
yeah.
helpful to making me feel positive um in what I'm doing. And I think just working with organizations that I believe in and that I
Mhm.
see the growth in the work that they're doing, I think in turn helps me stay positive and maintain a positive mindset.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And
Mhm.
when I was thinking about this podcast and like how like what kind of name I should have for it, I was
Mhm.
thinking like, voices that propel us. Like these are the stories of people who are doing like work in the community and just helping to move our communities and the world in a more positive direction. So when you think about voices that propel us, whose voice has propelled you and how do you hope that you use your own voice in return?
One of the voices that really propelled me, first of all, I love the name of the podcast. I think that's
Okay.
so clever. I love
Thank
it.
you.
But I think my friend Angelina, she is a radio host for Wild 94.9, and she's
Yeah, I remember
also
that.
she
Oh,
like honestly inspires me so much. She's actually the one that got me involved with the Roots. She's
uh-huh.
works really well with that organization, and she's really involved in sports all around the Bay Area.
Mhm.
And I think that her confidence in the way she uses her voice to really, I mean, she's like community all the way. I mean,
Mm,
any community involved, any sports team she can get involved in, anything that she can
yeah,
dip her toes in when it comes to community. And watching her and the way that she gets so inspired by it and the way that she uses that to really like push her, I think
yeah,
really helps me, be inspired in, just local work and community work and just being
yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Well,
Yeah, she's definitely one of the
yeah,
voices that I use for sure
yeah.
to help propel me. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christina, for your
of
time. I had
course.
such a wonderful time talking with you. And like I was saying, at the beginning, like you have such a beautiful heart and I love the
You're so
work that you're
sweet.
doing. Yeah, but
Aw.
just lastly, before we wrap up this conversation, how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, my social media is Xtina Reyes, so
Mhm.
XTINAXREYESS. You follow me on social media, and we can connect. And yeah, ask me any questions, of whether it be off the grid, government work, Oakland
Yeah.
Roots. I am accessible.
Okay, well, thank you again, Christina. I
Thank you,
really did have a wonderful
Denise.
time
I
talking with
really
you. I hope you have a
appreciate
good rest of
it.
your day. Yeah,
You
you too.
too.
Okay, bye. Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that